Hey, I'm Josh.
I'm Joe.
And guess what? You're listening to the Geek 2.0 podcast.
Lucky you.
Ooh, it's so great to have you over. But on this episode, we're going to be diving into security.
Dun, dun, dun.
Not the security that, get a guard on your front door or your neighborhood, but your online profile security, how you deal with it. What do you do after it's been stolen or taken?
Anything you can do to prevent it?
Yeah.
Short answer, no.
No, you can't. If it's online, it's for the world to see.
Yep.
So let's jump right in. And if you're of our age or pretty much, our age, you're still using Facebook because the younger generation, that gravy train is...
Yeah, no, that's
left
Facebook's for old people.
Yeah.
We are old.
I remember when Facebook first came out, you couldn't get on it unless you had a .edu email address. You were in college or something.
Yeah, going back further than that, I mean, if you saw the movie, it had to be Harvard or Yale.
Well, that's a generalization. Hollywood.
But yes, yeah. No.
Yeah, you have to have... But now, wow. It's been open to everybody for, a decade now. More.
Mm-hmm. It's been open to everyone for...
Poor Tom.
For
Tom from MySpace.
Justin tried. He tried bringing it back. It just wasn't sexy enough, apparently.
But when you go online, you're pretty much opening yourself up to the world.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people, they jump right into it and say, oh, look, I'm on Facebook. I go friend and like every single page that comes across my feed.
Well, that's definitely the biggest thing is just people... I don't know if it's an illusion because of the fact that you're in a private space, being your home, your car, your office, that when you're on the internet, you think of it locally. Like, you know that you're going externally, but you still think of it locally. Even the stuff that they have in browsers with the in-private browsing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Incognito mode.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff. And they think,
that still doesn't work. No,
it works literal for the localization on that
for your
computer
cookies and stuff. Yeah, yes. That's about it.
But if you're at your office and you're using it, your office can still see where you're going because you're still going through the internet through that company. And not only can the office see it, depending on how they have their network set up, but then also you're the internet service provider or quote unquote ISP.
Whoever that would be. It'd be either Comcast or Comcast, Charter, and that's pretty much it.
At least that we're aware of.
Fios and Frontier. Depending on where you live, you might have one, maybe two options.
Some are better. I mean, you could have Google. Some areas have Google.
Have 3 or 4 cities in the whole U.S.
It's
something better, yeah.
But they see everything that you do, everywhere you go. There is a way of getting around that, and you could set up a VPN. Mm-hmm. You could go through proxies.
Yep. Go through the Tor network.
Yep. Those are all capable of masking.
Well, the only problem is, let's take VPNs for example. A lot of banks, Netflix, a lot of places are blocking VPNs.
Yes.
Because in the past, if you wanted to, let's say, go to Netflix in the UK and VPN into the UK, like you're pretending you're from the UK to watch Netflix from there, because they have different options on that side without actually paying whatever tax that they have over there. They don't want you to do that anymore. So they're actively blocking all VPNs to keep you from doing that. Banks, they think VPNs are not as secure. So in dealing with people's money,
which is ridiculous, but they're not technically wrong.
No, it's in their eyes, it's probably the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. And to be fair, for the lesser technical people out there, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And basically what that is a secure tunnel through the Internet of Tubes.
The internet.
That allows you to communicate directly with whoever or wherever it is that you're trying to communicate with. So
a lot of companies use it for working at home.
Yes, exactly. If you work for, let's go crazy. Let's say you worked for Blockbuster at home.
Wow.
I know. And you needed to get on one of Blockbuster's servers to update a movie rental. Wow. Hey, I'm going with our generation. I want them to be able to relate.
That's an old relic. That's like someone digging up like old like Pompeii.
Hey, I'm sure it'll work.
You got that body, I'm still holding that card.
When you're at Blockbuster, you are on their network, so everything is accessible. It's just like clicking print, and the printer next to you will print. But if you're remote, you use the VPN, and that will allow you to communicate as if you are at that location,
right?
Even though you are remote. Doesn't mean everything goes through that tunnel. It depends on how they set it up, and they can get overly technical, but just as a generic, that's basically what it's for.
Yeah.
And there are what's oddly considered private public VPNs, and it's basically where you can establish a VPN that will allow your internet to be secure when you're at home, when you're browsing things like Facebook and stuff like that, where you're not necessarily going directly to Facebook on a VPN, but you are going to a third-party company that establishes a VPN network that will then bring in the web pages.
Yeah, there's a lot of services. Like there's one of Tunnel Bear. You pay like $10 a month for unlimited bandwidth to use their VPN services, which it helps, especially with security, is if like open Wi-Fi's spots like McDonald's, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, stuff like that. It's a little extra step of security that you would think it's better than nothing, so to speak.
And then with your proxies, so that, if you know the definition of the word, is relatively self-explanatory. But in short, for those that don't know or aren't that technical, if I was at home and Josh here was running a proxy computer or server, I could, from my home computer, connect to his proxy computer, and then from his proxy computer, contact Facebook, Blockbuster, wherever it is that you're trying to get your movie from. And
streaming services.
As far as the internet traffic is concerned, your ISPs, Facebook and stuff like that, they think that it's Josh's computer that is contacting them, not Joe's computer.
Right.
And that's basically how it works. And you can do multiple proxies in a row, and that's where, especially with like the TV shows like CSI and all that, they love
multiple proxies and
they love throwing that around.
We can't track this because there's so many proxies. He's coming from Singapore, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Moscow.
So yes, these are all security measures. Yes, these are all things that are used in the real world. These are all things that do and can mask what it is and where you're going. But ultimately, as we said in the beginning, if it's online, it's out there. All this stuff that we'll be talking about and on this episode, it's an extra step. Yes, it might slow down your browser experience or your internet experience, but it's like your security blanket. We're trying to at least be somewhat educational for our users, because
just don't go out to open Wi-Fi and do your banking on it.
Those are the worst.
Because that weird guy that's in the corner booth typing away furiously on his laptop, he's not playing a game or something. He's sniffing your packets and doing man in the middle stuff.
Everyone's so concerned with security, but doesn't really understand security.
Yeah.
To be perfectly blunt, you and I are in the industry, and we understand security, but we don't understand full security.
No, we're enough to get in trouble.
But the people that do it out there for a living, I've had the fortunate pleasure of being able to interact with some of them through the company that I work for. But the knowledge and the stuff that's out there, I know enough to know that it's scary.
It is. Like I keep mentioning with if you're going to your device or your computer, like I said, people just plug in or connect to a Wi-Fi at home, and they don't. That's their your pretty much your basic understanding of the internet.
Well, and something that a lot of people I don't feel necessarily put two and two together on. When you have a home wireless, whether you set it up yourself, your brother or son or whoever's technical set it up
Whoever's
for
the
you.
IT expert,
Correct.
Family,
or whether you had Best Buy, Geek Squad come set it up, whoever. When you set it up, whether you have one device or 20 devices, when you're all in that home area, you'll connect to it. Your sibling, relative will connect to it. You all can communicate with each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're all, let's say you have a Google Chromecast. You're all on the same network. You're all able to cast to that device.
That device, yeah.
They're all communicating with each other. That's something you got to realize. They all can communicate. You could connect to their device, and vice versa. They could connect to yours. What people don't realize is that same logic implies when you're at Starbucks, or McDonald's, or the library,
or a hotel.
Yeah, whoever's got internet. When you connect to that internet, you are now making yourself accessible to everyone else on that
same network. That's like if you go to if you stay at a hotel, you can see everyone who connects to that open Wi-Fi connection.
Yes, there are security measures that you can take. I don't feel that we should necessarily get into all that because that would be a whole big episode that's going to go over everyone's heads.
Yeah, it's a whole bucket of words, but it's just like do further research into it, and it's just like we're just basically letting you know that they're not. I'm not going to say half measures, but they're measures to a more secure.
Think of it
experience.
Think of it along the lines of like a security system for your house.
Yeah.
You can...
A deterrent.
Correctly. You can set up the security system. You know that you're protected, but ultimately you also know that if someone wants to get into your house, they're getting into your house.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll set off the alarm. Yes, police will be alerted.
But they'll be gone by the time.
It doesn't mean that they can't... If they know what they're going for, it doesn't mean that they can't get in, grab your Xbox, and get out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's very doable. Again, they have to be knowing for it and look for it. Well, it's the same thing for your internet security. If someone's out there and they really want to get into your computer, they can get in.
Yeah, it's just one of the things is like for home security, like you mentioned, is if you get a TV, don't put the empty box out in your front yard on garbage day because that's like advertising. Hey, I got this nice 80-inch TV inside.
Yeah, I'm a little lazy. I do that sometimes.
At least cut it up, fold it, put it in a bag. But it's just one of those things like don't make it easy for them to get at you or get your information because a lot of stuff is easily accessible. Your credit cards, your banking information, your Facebook profile, which you probably use on a lot of sites that has that little Facebook login button.
Yes.
A lot of people think, oh, I'm already logged in with Facebook. I hit the button. Now I'm logged into this website. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Which is what it's for. It's supposed to be very easy. But then
it's a single sign-on for your life.
Absolutely. But then at the same time, you have to look at it. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Because now what you are doing is centrally locating a access point to your life.
Yeah, it's a single point of failure for everything that you do online.
And I would think, regardless of how technical advanced you are or knowledgeable, that you at least would be aware of the news and how easily stuff like Facebook has and can be hacked.
Well, if you look at your friends, like your feed on Facebook, let's take Facebook for example. How many times have you seen someone post, "Oh, my account was recently hacked. This don't reply or do anything until I can get this taken care of." Yep. How many times have you seen that actually happen? It's probably once every couple months.
Yeah, well,
that you unless you, depending on your circle of friends and family.
Yes, and what it is they do and click on.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is when people do see that, they think of it as, oh, that sucks, poor them. They don't necessarily think of it as,
they should have known better. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
or even what did they have that connected to?
Yeah.
It's.
Because look at every single website has Facebook, Twitter, and maybe a Google Plus or something else kind of single sign-on button, and you will pick the easiest option. Click that button, associate, and you're done.
Yep. And to go, and the reason that we're kind of getting into all this is because it's very easy to relate to when it's stuff that you work with personally. Then when you get into stuff that's more confusing for a lot of people, like the cloud. That's a very confusing subject for a lot of people. Simpsons. That's a very confusing subject to people, but the cloud really isn't anything special or scary.
No.
It's, for lack of better terms, without getting into true definition, I know there's going to be some hardcore geeks that are going to yell at me for this, but the cloud's always kind of been around. It's just never been called the cloud. It's been called the internet. Big shocker. It's the same thing. Like I said, there are things that make it different. I know. Go ahead. You know what? Spam us. Yell at us. It's fine. It means I know that you're listening.
I like to read the emails when they come in.
That's true. That could be kind of fun. But ultimately, for our non-knowledgeable people, it's kind of the same thing. Mm-hmm. And all it is anytime you go to Facebook or you go to your bank or you go to any of these websites, you are communicating with what's called a server. And it's just basically an overpowered computer that is hosting or has the information that you're getting.
Right.
That's really all that it is. So anytime that you post a picture or upload a picture or type something in, what you are ultimately doing is that would be like going, if Facebook was a physical store, you are literally going into this physical store, handing them a picture of you and your kids, your pets, going, here, can you have this? Thanks. And then leaving the store.
Yeah.
That is literally what you are doing.
Yeah, to put it in a general sense terms like that anyone can understand. It's walking into a store and then your information and walk out.
And what that store turns around and
trusting them to do the right thing with your info.
And what that store is ultimately doing is taking that photo, turning around, and putting a piece of tape and taping it out the window that faces out to the road. I mean, that's Instagram if you want to get into it. Like
the big thing is like I know we're harping on Facebook a lot, but I mean it's the big elephant in the room.
Yeah, it's on everyone's minds, the subject, and even Facebook's created commercials trying to say that they're going back and fixing all this.
Well, that's the reason, because if in the news the past couple months or so is the Cambridge Analytica, I want to call it like incident. It's basically, you've seen it online. It's where click here to take this personality test, or click here to take this test of whatever, IQ test, whatever.
See which French
character you are, your personality. What happens if you take that test? This company called Cambridge Analytica would take that information from your profile, not only from your profile, but your friends and family and contacts that your account associated, take their information, and they, under false pretense, I want to say, they said, oh, well, we're not going to sell, but they gave the information to a third party that, and in turn sold that information for advertising and all sorts of other stuff. That was a big hullabaloo, and they have now Facebook has been on the backtracking, say, oh, we're going to go back, and your family and your profiles are what is core feature to us. We're not going to do the fake news. You've probably seen the advertisements, the fake news and all the stuff, or ads. It's going to be about your friends and family only.
It's supposed to be going back to its core.
Yeah. But that horse has already left that barn.
Too little, too late. It's exactly what I was just saying.
I mean, he is at the next county over. And Facebook is now finally waking up and, let's close that door.
Yep, you go right for it.
Go right ahead. But a lot of the information that you're posting on Facebook is, even though, yes, you set it up for only friends or only family, there's been times where Facebook has, when they do an update or something, all those settings that you saved get unchecked or rechecked and get changed. And
even if you set it for private, for friends and family, on what it is that you're posting or sharing and all that, when you go to a website and it goes log in with Facebook and you click this, that website now has the same access as a friend or a family.
Yep. Because you gave it permission to use your profile information inside their servers. So you basically, let's say you gave your information to that Facebook store, You also went down the street into the Blockbuster store, gave the information to the Blockbuster store.
You gave them a letter that said, "Here, you can go talk to this company and have all the access you want to my stuff. Just let me in.
Yeah,
let me play your game."
But you are basically in control of what you give out.
Absolutely, ultimately.
But it's like it's an addiction.
In a sense, it is.
Yeah.
In fact, I think there actually is a Facebook addiction.
Well, because you want to accrue as many friends, I'm using air quotes here, as possible, more than, Patty from down the street.
Yeah, damn that Patty.
It's Patty. Or Anne from accounting.
Thinks she's so cool.
Showing off to her Aruba pictures again. We get it. You travel a lot.
But sorry, there's like so many different angles I'm trying to hit this with. So there are things that you can do, and there are a lot of companies that are trying to establish new rules and new laws that give you more control over what you have out there and what you can have removed, what you can have taken back, which is all awesome. Like, it's good to see that they're making an attempt.
Yeah, there's the inroads into giving you as users more control of your online data. Recently, with back in the EU, they passed the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Retention. I want to say.
Good job. All right.
It's basically what it is that this is a law from the EU, but it spreads out through the entire world, basically. That if you want to go to Facebook or Blockbuster and say, hey, I want you to delete my information, legally through GDPR, they would say, okay, here is your information. You can download it as what it's yours, and here you go. Mm-hmm. And we'll delete it off our servers. Mm-hmm. The only problem, I know before we talked, before the episode, is that the internet as a whole is a big archive.
Yes.
That information it'll take, 20 years for it to completely disappear, probably. Or a lot longer.
It depends on what it is and where it is, plain and simple.
I was just putting that 20-year number it's
just throwing it around.
Yeah, it's a big number. But eventually, that data is still there in some aspect of waybackmachine.com or something.
The historical archives. Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
The websites that archive Facebook feeds when they're still allowed it.
Well, think about it this way: when you go to Google. And let's say, just for the fun of it, I don't know if anyone else has done this, but I know me and my friends have done this, where you'll go and you'll Google a friend's name to see what comes up. And a lot of times, you'll get their social media stuff, their Facebook, Instagrams, MySpace, depending on how old they are. You'll get that stuff. Sometimes you'll get the good, juicy stuff, criminal records, all that good stuff, photos, and all that. But you go to, and we'll just keep using Facebook as our example because it's the easiest. You go to Facebook and you tell them, delete my records. And let's say they 100% not apply. Whatever. They 100% go with it and go, yes, I will delete everything.
Comply.
Thank you. Comply. There we go.
I was thinking it too. I'm like, what?
But so they truly comply. They delete everything that they have of yours. You could still go into Google, type in that name, and guess what? You're still going to see a link for Facebook. Yep. Yes, you'll click on that link and it's going to go nowhere, but that data is still out there somewhere. Yep. And that means that data is still active. And that's just Google.
Yeah.
That's just one website to one website. That's not the entirety of the internet. And that's the reason at the beginning of this that I specified that the internet is just a computer somewhere. Because ultimately what it is all the computers of all the companies around around the entire world are all connected.
Yeah, in some way or shape or form.
Exactly. So that means that just because you've gone to this one location and shared this one thing, everything that is connected now has an instance of it or a piece of it, if not the whole thing, depending on what and where.
Yeah.
So that's why there's the old adage that is still very true, that especially young kids don't necessarily fully grasp yet, that once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah, like the younger generation, they're growing up in this time of all time of history,
and they're learning.
And everything is basically out in the open.
Yeah, and they're learning. Once you get older and fully grasp, the brevity of it,
yeah,
they'll get it. But you're always going to have a young generation.
Well, that's because they moved on to Snapchat, because they see Snapchat. They don't want their information or their postings out there for all time. Snapchat is basically, you put it out there, it's gone in 24 hours. It's deleted. That's their marketing proposal to the world, is that you can post out to this particular group of friends or whoever you talk to. I don't do Snapchat, so I don't.
You basically specify who it is that you're going to share with, and it's shared for
24 hours or something.
Well, no, it depends. There's, just like with Facebook and Instagram, there's stories.
Okay.
And then there's just direct one-on-one.
See, it's a good thing we have a Snapchat expert here.
No, I'm no expert, but I have used it before. But basically, you have the choice. So yes, you do the story, which makes it available for 24 hours, or you do a standard post. And basically, if I chose, let's say, you and 3 other people, only you 3 would get it, and it would be available for seconds. Literal. Okay. I think you can specify, I don't know how long.
Amount, like minutes or whatever.
I'll guess, let's say 25 seconds. You know what I mean? And that's as long as that you see it for. And then you can replay it, I think, once, and then that's it. You no longer have access to it. You're no longer there. But that doesn't mean that the company still doesn't have it.
It still has the logs of...
Yeah, and that was the thing that was actually happened a while back ago, where they got in a lot of trouble because they were holding that information for a period of time.
Well, a lot of it because it's part of... If a lot of these companies have their American business or they're based within the U.S., a lot of the times, because they have to comply with the federal government to what is it, the not Patriot Act, it's the FISA, it's some kind of letters where they have to have a record of information that happens on their networks and their servers, that the federal government can give them a letter, say, hey, we need this information that you have. So that's why they store all your information on their equipment.
But where they get in trouble is because they'll specify and sell you on a different mindset. Yeah. And that's where, those legalities and those terms of services and those read through this and press agree.
Well, how many times have you read TOS or any kind of private?
Well, ever since I saw the episode of South Park with the Isentapad, I've been trying to read a little bit more.
Well, it's all boilerplate. It's mostly all the same for every single company. They might change it here and there.
It's all jargon.
Yeah. So you gotta keep those lawyers employed.
Well, and it's funny, like that stuff, those terms of services and the legality contracts, they're all put out there. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what's written in those. It matters how much you want to use that service or product.
Right.
Plain and simple. Because if you really, really, really want or need to use that service or product, it doesn't matter what they put in that terms of service, because you have to agree to do that.
Yeah.
And if you don't agree, you don't use it. So there's your choice. Do you want to use it or do you not? It doesn't, they put all whatever words they want in there. In fact, some companies do. They put all kinds of crazy stuff in there.
I forget what company it was. They put in like this little clause, or if you see, or if you reply back to them to what it was, like something stupid, where it's like there's one guy actually won like $16 or a couple $1,000 because he read the clause and replied back to the company, hey, this is in here.
In your clause, you specify I need to do this.
Thank you for reading this. You're the first and only one that did it.
Yeah, there's been a few Easter eggs that have been thrown in there, but
they're probably putting like your firstborn and your right arm, left arm.
Well, and for those that don't know, the South Park did an episode on that with a spoof on the Human Centipede movie, but they called it the Human Centipad, and it was Apple in their terms of services. And they took one of the kids from South Park, and he was the middle piece of the centipede, and the front piece of the centipede had an iPad stuck to its head. Yeah,
you just let your imagination fly.
Yeah, we'll let South Park take it from there if you're really interested, but it's true. Like they put all kinds of crazy stuff in that terms of services sometimes, but
and whoever you click on it and whoever does it, you're giving them your permission.
Yeah, and that's where you have to really go, is this something I want or need?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of stuff out there. And we'll just, like we mentioned, we'll just cover like the quick basics. Because we can go on for the next couple hours.
Yeah, if we were really going to dive into this, I feel, and I'm pretty sure Josh feels the same way, that we would actually have to pull in a security professional to go into it.
Someone that does like OPSEC or anything like that.
And this would turn into an episode that you would listen to fall asleep. Like, ultimately is what it would become. So that's why we're trying to be, you know.
This is how you protect your data packets is what you do is by... You don't hack the Gibson.
When you get into the 5th bit, and it's at its 8 octet,
but it's one of the things is keep yourself and your family. That's the most important part is your family, because we've all done it with our kids. Is post their pictures online on Facebook. Mm-hmm. So now to think back into okay, that was nice. To like try to get your parents or grandparents,
family, or
if your grandparents are on Facebook, because you probably made a profile for them and gave them they never used it since you created it.
Yeah,
but it's that now that information is out for them. Mm-hmm. What you could do is not use it. A lot of people are actually rallying against Facebook. And they're deleting their accounts en masse. There's a lot of like with what
celebrities.
Yeah, celebrities are. Well, the big thing with celebrities is now like what's her name from The Last Jedi? Played Rose. I forget her name.
Ridley Scott, I think.
No, not Ridley Scott. Played Rose. Not. I forget her name. I'll look it up. But she actually she deleted her Instagram, Twitter, and everything up because of the hate. Because your character, the fan base of Star Wars cannot separate the character from the actor.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So they're blaming the actor for making The Last Jedi bad, which is stupid.
Yeah.
It's just, they can't separate reality from fiction,
which seems to be a pretty big problem nowadays. But anyways,
that's a whole other topic. But it's basically where they're separating themselves from the online community. They're saying to their fans, hey, for you small group of people that are harassing me and doing all sorts of stuff, guess what? I'm done with you. I'm deleting everything. I'm sorry to my fans that loved me and everything else that you wanted on my feeds and all that. I'm sorry, but I have to go. And that's the bad side with like security and online presence.
Yeah, there's a lot there with every coin. There's always going to be a good side and a bad side. Yeah, you know what I mean. There's always the yin and the yang. You know, depending on how spiritual you want to get with that. With the world nowadays, I don't know. Like, I understand the reasoning behind removing social presence, but when you're in that particular type of industry, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah, there is, but there's only so much you can do. I mean, you have like a publicist that's controlling your online presence, but still, at the end of the day, it's your image. Not because what it is her. I forget what it is. They were using her image, her character image, as like a meme, like a prejudicial meme or something, like Pepe the Frog or something like that.
See, I don't know. I know that it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. I get that that's overwhelming and gets tiring very quick. But it comes with the job. It's like paparazzi. That's, the
paparazzi really, are a whole nother vultures, and
we have
our opinions on them too.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's still, for better or worse, comes with the job.
Yeah, I can see that, but it's also you have to have your private life as well.
Oh, I absolutely agree. When you should.
Well, when you're interacting online, it's basically you're inviting millions of people into your private life.
Yeah, you're sharing with the world.
Yes. Even though you might have one or two, let's say Twitter, you only have 1 or 2 followers on Twitter, or the people who have hundreds of thousands to millions of followers. You're basically equal as individuals as a separation of privacy to public profile.
Even something as simple as this podcast right here, we have opened ourselves up more so than just what we had before, because we had, your standard social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But now that we're producing something that is out there to the world, we are opening ourselves up so much more. And as horrible as it could be, or would be if something were to happen, we also kind of understand the risk.
Yeah, we understand the risk and what it entails, and taking some measures to help mitigate that particular issue
best we can. And you try to be, as with anyone, whether you are really open and out there as far as, your Hollywood celebrities, your top A-listers, down to just your standard Facebook user, you need to be very socially aware of what it is that you are putting out there. Even just simple as words and typing.
Yeah. And it's just, yes, you might be putting out, like, say you post a Facebook or a Twitter that you, in your mind, that is okay. In today's world, it could be viewed as something horrendously horrible. And if the wrong person gets it, and then they increase it or put it on their feed,
or spin it, or just take a small
your words out of
it.
context.
Yep.
All of a sudden, now you have this hate train following that is going to be socially attacking your online presence and doing everything that they can to get at you.
And there's people that do that for kicks.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
There's, let's say, like Twitch community. I do a little bit of Twitch. I separate my profile from my public, and the Twitch as a whole separate entity. There are several cases where, like, swatting. There are people that, because it's online players with, like, Call of Duty and whatnot, people go out there are angry because they may have lost a match. Or they lost to a certain type of person, or even to a girl. They in their minds, oh, I got beat by a girl,
which is ridiculous,
which is stupid,
so ridiculous.
It's just another player. They were a little bit better than you, or there's a little bit of luck involved.
And regardless if they're a little bit or great, too bad.
It doesn't give you the excuse to call up the police and say, hey. Call up, like, say, hey, I have kidnapped my kids and family. I'm going to kill them, and I'm going to blow up the building.
Yeah.
So what in turns is causes the police to come in, full SWAT gear, and then could break into this person's house, or not even like what a couple months ago, where someone that wasn't even involved between these two people over a $1.50 dispute.
Yeah. That.
All of a sudden, the police comes to the wrong house and kills the guy. He had no relation at all to what was going on. It's just unfortunate. Wrong place, wrong time. It's just one of those things that you have to understand. All this stuff's going out there. There are people now, because of the internet, it gives like a face of being anonymous.
Which it does, but it doesn't. That's the thing. Is it does give that cloak of being anonymous, and that's kind of what we started at, where when we started this, is that you feel that it's just you're in your home, you're on your computer, you're on your phone, like no one knows.
The angry typing guy.
Yeah, you created a fake email account and signed up with this fake email account, so there's quote unquote no link to you. But not saying that it's easy to do, but if they really wanted to, they could trace back to you.
Yeah. And there are ways. I mean, they say IP address, but IP address is basically only certain areas. And there's a whole issue where certain IP addresses all are hard to track. But you can mask it some ways and stuff like that.
Spoof it.
Yeah. The VPN.
Yeah.
And we go back to the VPN.
VPN proxies, all that. Yeah, absolutely.
But basically, your information, when you sign up for an internet service provider to get internet at your house, you are giving that company your address, name, credit card, whatever number. That information is tied to your account on that aspect. So whatever you use through the old Intertubes, it has a train back to you in one way, shape, or form.
The biggest reasoning why you don't see a lot of retaliation, or you don't see a lot of the government stepping in with a lot of this stuff, is just because of what it takes to get there. Mm-hmm. So just like we said, if someone wanted to get into your computer, and we use the example of breaking into your house, if they really wanted to, they could. The question is it worth it?
Right.
You know, if someone is out there trying to get credit card data, is it worth it to try to get this one person's computer at this one house and hope that you can find a specific time or place that they are typing in their credit card data? Or is it worth it to try to write something and get into this bank, you know, and get their connection and get all the data from there? And the information that they get may be yours, may not be yours. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Just like when the, when the iPhones were being hacked.
Oh, yeah, with the iCloud.
Yeah, the iCloud. So they were, you know, you could spend the time and try to get, you know, there's this one specific celebrity that you really want to get into their iPhone. So you can try and spend the time and effort to get this one specific use case, or you spend that same time and effort and get into the cloud and get all of these.
Of them. And then you can spend the time to, you know, you got the information, and you know that a lot of times people don't change their passwords often or at all. So you have plenty of time to go, all right, let's take this one person or this group of people. Let's try the passwords and which ones pop up. Okay, we got those. Move them to another. Let's go on this group.
So it's the same, like, as much as we're going on with all this, and some people may find this overwhelming or scary, or, you know, like, oh my God,
let's just throw out their computer.
Yeah, you know, like, this is you got to look at it. You take that same risk every day with stuff that's not technological. Your home is always vulnerable, no matter what security measures you take. Doors. It's always vulnerable. Your car, anytime you drive to Walmart and the parking lot, yes, there's a ton of cars there. The chances of them getting just your car is very slim, but doesn't it, you know, it happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same risk. Anything, you know, you go out somewhere and someone gets pickpocketed. It doesn't mean that it was because of you specifically. It was just, you just happened to be the one that they got at that time because they were going for the largest crowds and just going with what they can. So it's that same thing. So you want to be mindful of it at all times. That's why we get car alarms and house security systems, and, you know, put certain important things like passports and, you know, photo IDs in special pockets, or you know, stuff like that. That's why you take those steps. It's not because you feel someone's going to come after you, but you just want to mitigate and help prevent as much as possible, deter, it was the right word we used earlier, from these things happening to you specifically. So that's why when you're out there, you just need to be mindful. The biggest deterrent is just, is this something that I'm okay if something were to happen with this being out there?
Yeah, it's basically you have self-awareness of your surroundings and what you're doing. Because like went to Yellowstone last month, and of course that's almost like, it's like the land of tourists from around the world. You'll have people from like Japan, China, Germany, France, everywhere. They were all there. Now, a lot of times those people were, let's take from like equate to like nature, bears. The park rangers say, if you see a bear, don't go up to it and try to take a picture.
It's not Yogi.
It's not Yogi. Be like 100 yards back. It's like, me and my family, we know what's going on. We know this. We know what to do. There's so many people going up less than from here to like 20 feet away from a cub. Which you think, okay, that's a cub, mama or papa. Mama's going to be around somewhere.
They're somewhere.
You don't see her, but she is around. And we're like, what? It only takes a few seconds for that bear to come out and maul you.
There's actually a video. Oh, I just thought of it. There's a video of someone where they have those drive-through.
Zoo adventures or whatever.
Yeah, basically where you take your car and you're driving through and you could see the animals, and sometimes they'll come up to your car window and you could feed them through the car window and all that. There's a family that got out of their car to try to take a picture and got hunted by some cheetahs. And they had kids.
Yeah.
And they made it back to their car. Like, they made it okay. Thankfully, the cheetahs weren't hunting for food. They were just defending their
sport
they were defending their territory is basically what it was. So they got very fortunate in that, and this got caught on video. It was really crazy. Like, it gives me chills having a kid, like, thinking about, like, oh my God, you know, because you're not outrunning a cheetah.
Well, it's like, is this, a lot of people forget, is like with online security, it's just that you have to have, like I said, self-awareness. What are you doing? What can you do to protect? What are you causing, or what are you doing to cause a bad reaction to whatever you're doing?
Or what are you doing that is making yourself more vulnerable?
Vulnerable.
Anytime you know, and again, we're using Facebook, but this could be used with anything that's online.
Yeah, we're not against Facebook or anything. I mean, this is like I mentioned, it's a big elephant in the room.
We're actually going to. I'll use the same analogy. We're hitting the biggest audience by using Facebook because so many people use it. Instead of trying to talk about another, you know, one specific person or use case.
Google Plus.
Oh, it tried.
They're still there. There's a small community.
But you go to Facebook and you see, you don't see it as much anymore, but you see those Facebook friends that are playing games. Mm-hmm. Those games, a lot of times, have a lot of malware and viruses in them. And when you go to those games and you're logging into those Facebook games, if you look at what permissions those games have, they have access to your date of birth, they have access to your phone number, they have access to your name, they have access to your friends, your family, your pictures. To play a game,
something Bejeweled or something,
like it's not needed. Like it's really not needed. I actually way back, this is going back easy a good 7-10 years. There was a Facebook game that I was playing that I really enjoyed. I think it was like Mafia Wars.
Okay,
or something
I remember something like that.
And what I actually did was I created a secondary Facebook account that was just for that game. And that's it. I logged into there when I wanted to play that game and used it that way. That way it's not tied back to my account with my pictures and my friends and family and all that. And it's literally, it's a bunch of strangers that's just to nothing. If something happens to it, all right, whatever. I get rid of it.
Start a new one.
Or the people that... Actually, this is another big one that a lot of people use. Those password managers. Mm-hmm. LastPass.
I use LastPass a lot.
Okay, LastPass. There's something like Key something. I can't think of it.
Yeah, there's like KeyPass, there's Dashlane, there's 1Password. There's a whole bunch.
Yeah, which those are all, they're very useful. Mm-hmm. They are really good, but we'll go really great, is the juice worth the squeeze? Ultimately is what, and those are the things that you have to think about when you're doing it, because you are creating a central location of all of your passwords. Mm-hmm. So if you're using it for a mixture of social and personal, like banking and bills, you are basically, if they get into it, it's one thing if they can from there get into your Facebook and and your Instagram. No, okay, it sucks, but it's not bad. But if you've got your bank account in there and your all your bills and stuff like that you log into, they now have access to
it's this major thing that people are talking about is like with passwords. The most important thing is to use different passwords for everything that you use. People don't. Mm-hmm. They use the same monkey 123.
Yep.
For Facebook, banking, and whatnot. I use LastPass because it's nice because I really don't have to think of a long string of numbers, letters, and passwords or symbols for each individual, or write them down for each individual website. I let LastPass take care of that, and it reminds me to change passwords like every 30, 60 days.
See, and it's funny, I always go with the simple sentences.
Yeah, I tried that. I've been using like the LastPass and stuff for so long. I can't, the quick brown fox jumped over the fence.
Well, like I had one company that I worked for a while ago. Their password rules, like you were changing it constantly.
Yeah, a lot of corporate. At our place, we used our one login every 90 days.
Yeah.
And you can't use the prior 10
Correct.
if you use or any kind of variation on that.
Which is, I get the meaning behind, but this one, I swear it felt like, I'll put it that way, it felt like it was every month. I was changing this password, and it was getting rough. So that's when I really started getting into the whole simple sentences, and I find what works best for me, because it's also calming at the same time, is I argue with it. So like, and it was just for that particular company and that job, so that's why I don't mind talking about this. But like, I would sit there and I'd be like, I don't want to, or I hate doing this. You know what I mean? That was my password. So literally every morning I'd log in, and I would be like, I don't want to enter. Hey, all right, I'm in. Yeah, time to change your password. What's your old one? I don't want to. Type in your new one. I hate this. And just keep going. Like, it made it fun for me, and it still worked.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the thing is that your level of like doing that, or giving it your information to LastPass, which has been bought, I think a year or 2 years ago, by the company GoToMyPC or GoToMeeting. So a lot of things where people were saying, oh, now they're going to sell that off or do all sorts of horrible stuff with your passwords, which hasn't happened because it's basically set it up. Yes, we own it, but it's just a separate entity.
It's still its own company. Yeah.
But, or you can like go with one of the other ones. It's nice because I can have the same passwords on my desktop that I on my phone. I can quickly log in. It's
100% got its uses.
Yeah, it's basically how you want your level of convenience to security. If you want ultimate security, you will have no convenience whatsoever.
Correct.
If you want a lot of convenience, well, then your security is going to be a lot lower.
Yeah, same thing with the same concept could be email addresses. Email addresses are very easy, especially your Googles, your Outlooks.
Oh, it's so easy now. Get a Gmail account. You just go to Google and then
done.
Yeah, you're done within 5 minutes. You have a new account.
But a lot of people will, and I'm somewhat guilty of this myself, where you'll have one email address that you use for a wide brevity of things.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Which, that again, it's putting yourself up to a slightly higher security risk. Again, it's a mixture of either being targeted because of something else that you've done, or the company that you're going through, Gmail, Outlook, whatever, having a security breach, and then that now being I just lost the word. Whatever. You're now no longer secure because of that.
Right. Well, it's like with the Target and all the credit card breaches and stuff like that, because
I had like 2 credit cards in a row.
Well, it's the thing is, you think of like this big corporation, security and people's credit card numbers, and you think, oh, it'd be important. It's like writing in a password on a paper napkin and leaving it at a restaurant. Or even like Equifax with their whole data breach. So they knew it months ahead, but we're not going to do much. And a month later, the whole world now knows it. And, well, that's a whole other can of worms. And
too little too late.
Yeah, and it's a whole... Everyone's... Basically, what we're getting at is say, if you're online, your data is out there, you are open to the world. It's just trying to levels of... layers of security that you can try to protect yourself.
Yes, there are many options out there for it, and it's honestly there's so many different flavors and ways and things that it's not viable to really go through all of them in one episode. It's really something, and for everyone it's different. We could talk about what works best for us, or what we think is the ultimate way of compiling something together to get the most out of security, and then for someone who listens to us, it does absolutely nothing for them.
Yeah, it might have the opposite effect, and then we'll get an angry email.
Yeah, so it's something that you really have to do your own research. You have to look at what it is that you do and you use that you need the security on, and then, in all honesty, if it's something that you're not sure about, you can always reach out to us or anyone that has some technical knowledge to get their opinions. Yeah, and that's the key word there. You always have to look at it as opinions. Even the quote unquote professionals that you hire, like we mentioned earlier, your Geek Squad and stuff like that.
Well,
without getting into that. These are still supposed to be professionals that are there for the consumer to go against. You still have to take everything that they say as an opinion, not fact.
And it was just basically, it's just pulling opening your eyes to what's out there. If you didn't know, hey, now you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a scary world, but you know what? So is the real world.
Well, and it's funny because people look at it in a different light when really it's not that much different. You go to a doctor's office and you get told something. How often do you hear you should go get a second opinion?
Oh yeah.
It's very common to hear that, and people don't tend to think twice about it. And this is someone who's gone to school to get a literal doctorate in this field. Like, they're supposed to know, and people instantly go, yeah, go talk to someone else.
I'm going to talk to another person that's been 8 years. And
you know, and you get the same thing with a mechanic. Oh, you know, my car did this. Go talk to this guy. I like this guy a little bit better.
So I shouldn't get the other blinker fluid for this.
Always go with the blinker fluid. So it's the same thing, but people don't look at computers and internet and security with that same mindset. But you should. Especially, and it's funny enough that I use both of those as examples, there's a lot of people that put a lot more time and effort into being public facing with doctors and mechanics. Like, there's a lot more that they put than a lot of times you'll find with your, you know, nephew, cousin, brother, son, whoever's the IT person in your family. They could just be a tinkerer. Yeah, they know more than you. Yes, they could set it up. Doesn't mean that it's done right. Doesn't mean that it's secure. Doesn't mean that it's what you need.
Exactly. Yeah, don't open up that case because
it's just what they know. You know what I mean? And that may be very little, but people put a lot of faith and trust. Oh, you're in IT? Let me spill everything that I know to you because I have this one specific question. You go, cool, I just plug this one piece into a computer in an assembly line. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same.
Yeah, going off that, it's basically like, yeah, I bought the router and just followed the direction. It's simple. Plug this cord and that power cord and the other end to the computer. That's all I know.
I mean, both of us at one point or another in our lives have worked for our local ISP doing support. And I know me personally, especially around Christmas time, we would get phone calls from people asking how to set up home routers and how to plug in computers. And sure, I can help them through, and I have on quite a few occasions because it's not overly difficult nowadays. But they don't know who I am.
No.
You know what I mean? And I have nothing to do with their home equipment. How do they... I could be telling them to, you know, plug in things to the wrong port or do this, or if I really wanted to be malicious, I could tell them to do all kinds of crazy things and then access it later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
or misinformation, even from sales staff that was just trying to make that sale. Is I know because I had someone called up and complained because they could not get their home Wi-Fi out in the world. And I had to spend almost an hour trying to explain to this very angry person that our company had lied to them, saying that you can access the internet from the Wi-Fi anywhere at the airport, shopping mall.
I remember you telling me that story.
And I'm like trying to explain.
They took wireless internet literal.
Yeah, exactly. It took it quite literally because that's what the salesman said.
I paid for a wireless internet. I should be able to be in Indonesia and have the wireless internet at home.
Yeah, from my home. Because I know exactly what the salesperson probably said is that you can connect anywhere.
Yeah.
They didn't say anywhere within your home.
Correct.
So that was a good hour of my day.
Yeah.
In my younger youth.
Yeah.
And still, they were very angry at me. And
oh, absolutely. And it's the same thing. Like, this hits a lot of older. This isn't hit so much the younger generation, but
sometimes it does.
The younger generation, the ones that are still learning, this does hit them also. Where Microsoft is not going to alert you to being a virus on your computer and have them call you. They do not care.
No, because. If you, this is Ed from Windows.
This is Ed. No, okay, like they will not contact you. They will not reach out to you to go, hey, we've noticed this. They do not have that time.
No, and the funny thing is, if you're using a Mac, say, hey, this is Ed from Windows. We notice on your Windows computer. If you want to play, say, yeah, sure. So I click on the whatever.
The Apple key.
Yeah, Apple key. It's not going to work. It's just out to get your money. There is a lot of scams and stuff like that. Even at your local, you have to be on the local level. You have to be careful as well.
Absolutely.
You just don't go into do your research on computer repair places with your town, if you have one or not.
Well, and it's funny. There was a news report that was done years ago. This was quite some time ago. But they were looking at, it was kind of the same thing that you see with mechanics, where they will take a perfectly functioning car and take it to 3 or 4 mechanics to see what it is that they try to tell them. They did something similar with a computer. They took a computer tower and made a very, very simple change. If I remember correctly, I think all they did was unplug the data cable from the hard drive. All you got to do is open the computer, you see the cable's unplugged, you know what it is. Right. And they took it to a couple of mom and pop shops, and they took it to Geek Squad and stuff like that, and they took it to all these places to see what it was. And what was interesting, I'm not going to get into all the details about it, but what was interesting is a lot of the mom and pop shops were more honest than the big chains.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because that's the whole nature of business, because you have to have that level of customer service and satisfaction to increase business and people coming back, return visits.
Correct.
Big box stores and corporate, you're one in a million. If we fry your hard drive, aisle 4, you can buy a new one, and we'll give you a 10% discount. Our mistake.
So you have to, just with everything else in your life, you have to be very mindful, and you have to look at it with the same mindset that you do with everything
Not
else.
just for yourself, but also for your family.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying don't go to Thanksgiving dinner and say, all right, everyone, this is what you got to do. Because I heard it on a podcast, because roll is scary.
Exactly. Just like I said, we are in the same boat. Don't take anything we say as gospel. It's just our opinions. Yeah. It's our experiences. Always research against it.
So take our words with a grain of salt. Do your own research.
And when you realize we're always right, that's fine.
Yeah,
but that was your research that led to that.
It's your journey. Simba had to go on his journey before becoming the Lion King.
And one of these days, my wife will realize the same thing. But
that we're always right.
Until then, I'll hold my breath.
But the boss over there has to control. But if you got any other ideas or any kind of opinions, questions, comments. Yeah, I didn't steal that. Well, I did steal it. Sorry. But let us know at our email address, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, because we actually do have a Google Plus. I did that.
I'm not going to say anything.
Hey, it's a small community.
I know.
I said it again.
That's fine.
Hey, thank you for joining us on this little adventure of internet security.
Let us know if you like this, if it was too technical or not.
I don't think we got too... we tried...
We did try very hard.
It's kind of hard.
Compared to a lot of our other episodes, this was much more technical than the rest.
Yeah.
So
I'll give you that.
I'm curious to see how our fan base feels about something like this.
I didn't understand this, but if you got time codes...
that would help.
At 20:34, you're explaining this. I didn't quite understand. But also, we're going to dive deeper into a lot of different stuff. We'll post up a couple things a little after the episode is released. Like for the password managers, we'll see what works for us, or if because I know Joe doesn't use it, but I do. So I'll put my opinions down and say, hey, this is what I use. I tried the other one, so I'll try that and see what works, what doesn't, what's easy, what's hard, what's pros and cons. So we'll try to do a little more deeper dives and other things and what we talked about in the episode. So hey, if you got any other ideas or anything like that, let us know. And thank you for joining us on the Geek 2.0 podcast. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for listening to this episode of Geek 2.0 podcast.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Geek 2.0 podcast. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Geek20 podcast. Don't forget to visit our website at geek20podcast.com for older episodes, news, and much more. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast through your favorite podcatcher player of choice.